I went to the spa with my girlfriend. I smiled at the security guard and now she's mad at me. Today started with that perfect blend of excitement and calm. Emily and I had planned a day at the local spa, a chance to escape the daily grind and just soak in some peace. We'd been dating for 6 months, and while our relationship still had that new car smell, we were learning a lot about each other, the good, the bad, and the utterly baffling. It was one of those rare early summer days where the sun seems to kiss your skin just right, making everything feel light and full of possibility. I showed up at Emily's house around 11, feeling like $1,000,000. She was waiting outside, her face lighting up when she saw me. Her hair was pulled into a neat ponytail, and she wore a simple summer dress that somehow made her look both elegant and effortlessly casual. I leaned in for a kiss, and she beamed at me. We chatted about our plans, laughed at inside jokes, and shared a few affectionate glances as we walked to the bus stop. Today was going to be amazing, I just knew it. The spa is a local favorite, nothing fancy but brimming with charm. It has a cozy, welcoming vibe that makes you feel at home the moment you walk through the door. As we entered, the familiar scent of eucalyptus washed over us, and I felt the tension I didn't even know I had begin to melt away. We handed our passes to the elderly receptionist who always greets us with a warm smile, and made our way to the locker rooms. As we walked past the entrance, I noticed a new bodyguard. She was a young woman, probably in her early 20s, looking sharp and attentive at her post. We changed into our swimsuits and headed out to the pool area. The sight was like something out of a travel brochure: clear blue water, sunlight glinting off the surface, and a serene atmosphere that instantly put me at ease. We found two loungers, laid out our towels, and slipped into the water. The sensation of the warm water enveloping my body was pure bliss. Emily and I floated lazily, talking about everything under the sun: our dreams, the upcoming school break, our favorite movies, and those silly little things that only seem funny to us. It was perfect. After a while, we decided to get out and grab some drinks. As we walked back toward our loungers, I happened to catch the new bodyguard's eye. She was standing at her post, her expression blend of professional vigilance and friendly openness. When our eyes met, she smiled at me, a simple, welcoming smile. Without thinking, I returned the gesture, nodding slightly. It was an automatic reaction, a habit of being polite, nothing more. We got our drinks and settled back on our loungers, but I noticed Emily was unusually quiet. She sipped her drink in silence, her eyes darting around and avoiding mine. I could feel the shift in the atmosphere but couldn't quite place what had caused it. I tried to make small talk, to bring back the light, easy mood from earlier, but her responses were short and clipped. "Is everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual but failing to hide my concern. "Yeah, everything's fine," she replied, but her tone was far from convincing. There was a tension in her voice that made my stomach twist. Hoping the hot tub might help her relax, we moved over and slipped into the bubbling water. As we sat there, the warmth swirling around us, Emily's tension seemed to only increase. She kept glancing at me, then looking away, her brows drawn together in thought. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, but I didn't know what. Finally, she turned to me, her eyes flashing with a mix of anger and hurt. "Why did you smile at her like that?" she asked, her voice sharp and accusing. "Who?" I replied, genuinely confused. I had no idea what she was talking about. "The bodyguard," she snapped, "the one who smiled at you, and you smiled back like you knew her or something." I was taken aback. I had smiled at the bodyguard, sure, but it was just a friendly, reflexive gesture. "I just smiled back because she smiled at me," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. It was just a polite thing to do. Her eyes narrowed, and I could see the hurt and anger simmering there. "Polite? You think it's polite to flirt back with every woman who smiles at you?" Flirt, that word hit me like a bucket of cold water. "I wasn't flirting," I protested. "I was just being friendly. If it had been a guy, I would have done the same thing." "But it wasn't a guy, was it?" She shot back, her voice rising. "It was a girl. And you smiled at her in a way that made me feel like I wasn't even there." I opened my mouth to argue, to defend myself, but the words got stuck in my throat. I hadn't meant to make her feel that way. To me, it was just a harmless, polite gesture. But to Emily, it was something more, something that hurt her deeply. The argument escalated quickly. Emily's voice grew louder, her words tumbling out in a torrent of frustration and hurt. "Why do you always have to be so friendly with other girls?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "It's like you don't even care how it makes me feel. What if a random girl hugged you and kissed you? Would you just go along with that too?" Her accusations stung, and I could feel my own frustration rising. I tried to explain that my smile was innocent, that I hadn't meant anything by it, but she wasn't listening. "You never think about how your actions affect me," she continued, her voice breaking. "You just do whatever you want, and I'm left feeling like I don't matter." Her words cut deep, and I felt a pang of guilt. I realized then that I had never considered how something as simple as a smile might be perceived differently by someone I cared about. In my mind, it was just a friendly gesture, but to Emily, it was something more, something that made her feel insecure and unimportant. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of back and forth, I suggested we go home. The atmosphere at the spa, once so inviting and peaceful, had become charged and uncomfortable. I thought that maybe some space and time apart would help us both cool down and think things through. We gathered our things in silence. Emily stormed ahead, her body language radiating anger and hurt. I followed, carrying our bag, feeling a heavy weight of regret and confusion settling on my shoulders. The walk home was a study in contrasts. The sun was still shining brightly, birds were singing, and the world seemed oblivious to the turmoil between us. Emily walked ahead, her back rigid, her pace quick. I trailed a few steps behind, feeling like a dark cloud had settled over me. I wanted to reach out to her, to fix things, but I didn't know how. When we reached her house, she stopped at the door, her hand on the handle. For a moment, I thought she might turn around and say something, but she just stood there, her shoulders slumped. Finally, she opened the door and stepped inside without a word, leaving me standing there on the porch, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. I walked home in a daze, replaying the events of the day over and over in my mind. What had started as a perfect day at the spa had turned into a confrontation I hadn't seen coming. Emily's reaction had blindsided me, and I struggled to understand why something as simple as a smile had triggered such a strong response. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it all. I realized that I had never really thought about the boundaries of our relationship, about what was acceptable and what wasn't. I had always considered myself a friendly person, someone who treated everyone with the same courtesy and respect. But maybe, just maybe, I had been blind to how my actions could be misinterpreted. The next day, I decided to talk to Emily. I knew that if we were going to move past this, we needed to have an honest conversation about our feelings, about what had happened at the spa, and about how we could avoid similar misunderstandings in the future. I went to her house, my heart pounding with a mixture of anxiety and hope. When she opened the door, I saw that she looked just as tired and upset as I felt. We stood there for a moment, neither of us sure what to say. "Can we talk?" I finally asked. She nodded and let me in. We sat down in her living room, the silence between us heavy with unspoken words. I took a deep breath and began to speak. "I'm sorry," I said. "I didn't mean to hurt you yesterday. I didn't realize that my smile would make you feel the way it did. It was just a reflex, something I did without thinking. But I see now that it was more than that to you, and I'm really sorry for not considering your feelings." Emily looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "I know you didn't mean to hurt me," she said quietly, "but it did. It made me feel like I wasn't important, like you didn't care about how I felt. I guess I felt insecure, and I took it out on you." We talked for a long time, sharing our thoughts and feelings, trying to understand each other better. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was necessary. We both realized that we had a lot to learn about each other, about what made us feel secure and valued in our relationship. In the weeks that followed, Emily and I made a conscious effort to communicate more openly, to be more mindful of each other's feelings. We set boundaries and discussed what was and wasn't acceptable in our interactions with others. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. The incident at the spa became a turning point for us. It taught us that even small actions could have a big impact on our relationship, and that understanding and respect were crucial in building a strong foundation of trust. We learned that it wasn't just about being together but about growing together, about supporting each other and navigating the challenges that came our way. Our relationship wasn't perfect, no relationship ever is, but we were committed to making it work, to being there for each other, and to learning from our mistakes. The spa incident, while painful at the time, ultimately brought us closer, helping us to see each other in a new light and to appreciate the importance of understanding and communication in our journey together. Looking back, that day at the spa was a valuable lesson in the complexities of relationships. It showed me that even the smallest actions could have unintended consequences, and that understanding and empathy were key to maintaining a healthy, loving partnership. Emily and I continued to navigate the ups and downs of young love, growing closer with each challenge we faced. We learned that love wasn't just about the good times, but about working through the tough moments, about learning and growing together. The spa incident was a reminder that relationships require effort and understanding, and that even a simple smile could carry a world of meaning. It was a lesson I would carry with me, not just in my relationship with Emily, but in all my interactions, reminding me of the power of empathy and the importance of seeing the world through the eyes of those we care about. As weeks turned into months, Emily and I faced other challenges. There were moments of joy and laughter, but also times of frustration and misunderstanding. We navigated school projects, family expectations, and the everyday stresses that come with growing up. Through it all, we kept coming back to the lesson we learned that day at the spa: communication and empathy are crucial. One evening, several months later, Emily and I were sitting on her porch, watching the sunset. It was one of those quiet, reflective moments where everything seemed to come into focus. "You know," she said softly, "I've been thinking about that day at the spa." "Yeah," I replied, my curiosity piqued. "I've realized that it wasn't just about the smile," she continued. "It was about feeling seen and valued. I know now that you weren't trying to hurt me, but I needed to feel like I was important to you, like my feelings mattered." Her words resonated deeply with me. "I get that," I said. "And I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner. I've been working on being more mindful of how my actions might come across, not just to you but to everyone. It's a work in progress, but I'm trying." She smiled, a genuine, warm smile that made my heart swell. "We're both learning," she said. "And that's what matters." That conversation marked another turning point for us. It wasn't just about apologizing or making amends. It was about understanding each other's perspectives and growing together. It was about learning to navigate the complexities of a relationship with patience and empathy. Our relationship continued to evolve. We celebrated our first anniversary with a quiet dinner at our favorite restaurant, reminiscing about how far we had come. We faced new challenges with a renewed sense of commitment, always coming back to the lessons we had learned about communication and empathy. Looking back, that seemingly small incident at the spa had a profound impact on our relationship. It taught us that even the most innocent actions could have unintended consequences and that understanding and respect were essential in building a strong, loving partnership. It was a reminder that love wasn't just about the good times, but about working through the tough moments, learning and growing together. In the years that followed, Emily and I continued to build our lives together. We faced new adventures, celebrated milestones, and supported each other through the ups and downs of life. The lessons we learned from that day at the spa stayed with us, guiding us through the complexities of our relationship and helping us to grow stronger together. And so, as I sit here, reflecting on our journey, I realize that the simple act of a smile, and the misunderstanding it caused, became a catalyst for growth and understanding. It was a reminder that relationships require effort, empathy, and a willingness to see the world through the eyes of those we love. It was a lesson that would stay with me, not just in my relationship with Emily, but in all my interactions, reminding me of the power of empathy and the importance of understanding in building meaningful connections.